and welcome to another evening of frank conversations here on Hard Copy. I'm Maokwe Ogun. Tonight, we turn our attention to the tertiary education sector in Nigeria. Only recently, vice chancellors, provosts and other stakeholders, including the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, Jamb, agreed to a cutoff mark of 120, the minimum that any candidate seeking admission into any Nigerian university must score in the Jamb exams to gain entry to any university in the country.
For degree award courses, the minimum is 120 in Jamb. Agreed? Good. Agreed? Agreed? Okay.
Now, that decision has elicited strong criticisms from many sectors of the country. Criticism that has now forced Jamb to release the cutoff point of all tertiary institutions, which revealed that most private institutions have their cutoff marks at the set minimum. Now, this in turn has led many to believe that private institutions are lowering the standards of education in the country. But are they? Well, joining me now in this debate of sorts is Dr. Adeniyi, the head Department Mass Communication in Bayes University, a private tertiary institution here in Abuja. Dr. Adeniyi, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Martha.
I also have with me Dr. Abdulhamid Ozohu Sulaiman, who is an associate professor in the University of Abuja. You're welcome to Hard Copy.
Thank you, it's my pleasure.
Now, gentlemen, let's start with this controversy. You know, this impression, your impression of the cutoff score set by Jamb and other stakeholders. What do you think of it? Do you think it was needless controversy? Let's start with you, Dr. Adeniyi.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I think what we're having really is a kind of conversation on how to remedy the problems we're having in our educational sector. You know, and I'm not going to see it so much like, as a controversy, but more of a conversation. And I think that at the end of the day, at the end of the thesis, antithesis, there will be a synthesis, there will be a resolution of all the altercations, you know, and Nigeria's educational process will definitely be better for it.
You say it's not a controversy, it's a conversation, but when you look at the language that has been employed by those who have criticized it, it doesn't sound like a conversation. It sounds like it's been trailed with utter condemnation.
Well, I think it's a matter of definition, really. It's a matter of definition. At the end of the day, believe me, you'll see this educational process coming out more stronger. And I was going to, that's why, somewhere else I was trying to create the pathway, another pathway. That's the private educational sector pathway. Okay, we have always said it, that for a society to grow, for sectors of a social system to progress, you know, the private initiative can definitely not be undermined. And it is very critical, more critical in the economic sector, where emphasis is often laid on private participation in the economy. And of course, move away from the economy now. Let's talk about the health sector. You know, different sectors of the economy, of every social system, often require private hands, private initiative, because they often have the capacity to prepare processes without bureaucracies that come with government.
The question
I'm going to come, just a minute, please. You know, now we're talking about deregulation. You know, I think there should be some more deregulation in the educational sector so that private participation can be better encouraged than what we have now. Perhaps that will solve some of the many problems that we're having.
We will come to that. I think the question will be, at what cost should we have that? Dr. Sulaiman, you belong to a union, I mean ASU.
That's right.
Which you have participated very strongly in, has condemned this. They think that this is unacceptable. What are your impressions?
Well, you see, when this issue came up in the public domain, I think my position is ambivalent. Ambivalent in the sense that I'm not excited by the pronouncement of Jamb. Neither am I impressed by, you know, the criticism that has trailed it. Sorry to interrupt you. It was not a pronouncement by Jamb. It was an agreement by stakeholders, vice chancellors, provosts. Well, what I understood by pronouncement is that having agreed, Jamb, you know, made the announcement. Yes. And don't forget that too, that many people that have criticized this, you know, new policy do not realize that it was a joint decision by stakeholders. Many still take it to mean that it was an imposition by Jamb. Despite Jamb's best efforts? Despite Jamb's best efforts and the effort they have also made in the last few days to, give explanation and educate Nigerians on what they have done. So for me, because I'm aware of, what has happened before this decision was made, I decided to be ambivalent about it. That is, I'm not impressed with what Jamb has done. I'm also not excited by the criticism that is coming up. And this is why. When they met at the last policy meeting, where all stakeholders were represented, this decision was jointly taken. It will also interest you to know that when the final decision on the appropriate cutoff mark that should be adopted by Jamb was to be taken, Jamb officials, excused themselves from the meeting. It was stakeholders from the university, the polytechnic, and other institutions. And the idea was that Jamb do not want to be there to be seen as influencing whatever decision they take. They took the decision. And of course, today we are here, Jamb, has the burden of explaining to Nigeria what actually happened. Where are the vice chancellors? Where are the other stakeholders? Why are they not talking to Nigerians? Their level of involvement in a decision that had generated this controversy, where are they?
It's a big question, but then people are now beginning to blame the private institutions, because initially some people thought that it was Jamb's way of encouraging educationally disadvantaged areas. But then it has come out now, because Jamb has released the data showing that a lot of private institutions are now, at that set minimum. They said it was to encourage enrollment in their institutions, and also ensure that people don't come behind the back door to come and seek regularization through Jamb after the process had been completed.
Yeah, as much as possible, Jamb through its Director of Public Affairs, and even the registrar himself, has attempted a lot of explanation in the social media, in the newspapers, and all that. We are in an era of mass education. And then, of course, scholars of development, studies have actually predicted this era, that we get to an era where a preponderance of young men and women will be asking for higher education. But again, it is not an occasion for institution that provides this higher education to tamper with standard. So they are caught between this, providing education to as many as possible, and also ensuring that standard is maintained. And it's because of the need for government to respond to this demand for higher education that the sector was deregulated for the private sectors to come in. But again, the private sectors have not been invited to come and lower standard that the public universities have managed to establish over the years.
Do you see them as lowering standards then?
Well, well, from what is imagined now, it does appear from, people, what people are saying, that they have come, to, help in lowering standard, and that they're actually okay with what Jamb has, the decision that was taken at that policy, meeting. And then part of the allegation now is that the new cutoff point would provide opportunity for private university to get more customers, in quote.